In this video, we will be featuring a speech from Jim Rohn about the foundations of leadership. He teaches us to identify the difference between building character and building strong charisma. Charisma can help you in the short term, but strong character is what supports you in the long run. Character is what we are remembered for after we are gone. A legacy of strong character can last for generations. He talks about the importance of leading from the front lines rather than pushing people from the back. It is time for you to unlock the true spirit of leadership that lives within you. Here is Jim Rohn.
Here's a third difference between character and charisma that's particularly important in a leadership situation. Charismatic people have to keep pulling rabbits out of the hat. The magic of their presence has got to keep expressing itself, or people might start wondering where it went. Worse yet, they might start getting bored. During the Second World War, Dwight Eisenhower was picked to command the Allied forces in Europe, not because he was an exciting leader with a sense of high drama, but precisely because he wasn't. There were plenty of charismatic individuals around, such as Churchill, Montgomery, de Gaulle, and Patton. What was needed was somebody with toughness, stamina, and ability to manage people. Just before the Normandy invasion in 1944, Eisenhower met with a group of officers who would be going into battle. He stretched out a piece of string on a table and pulled it a few inches with his finger. "An army is like this piece of string," he said. "If you try to push it from behind, it just tangles and doubles back on itself. Soldiers have to be led from the front, not pushed from behind." Eisenhower may not have been colorful, but he could definitely get his point across in a way anyone could understand. He had character in the true sense. You see, the nature of change is such that these things which today look so large and important may turn out to be mere flashes in the historical pan. There may be something else we haven't even thought about. It could be something as obscure as a population explosion among virus-resistant rabbits in Australia. That will be the key element in global changes we can neither anticipate nor even imagine. This has often happened throughout history. That's a key point, of course. That's why all our best-laid plans do sometimes go astray. It's entirely possible and even likely that nothing will ever turn out as we expect. And so no matter how much we prepare for one turn of fate, something will sneak up from the blind side when we're least expecting to be interrupted at our accustomed rounds. When that time comes, as it will, the people who survive and even triumph over the unanticipated will be people who are ready to adapt. They will bend in the first gust. They will step out of the path of the charging bull. They will pivot while holding their place in the scheme of things. They will step back and let something else bear the brunt of impact. I don't really think it's less important or more important today to be open to change and flexible in adapting to it than it has been in the past. It's always been important to be flexible and far-sighted, anticipating whenever we can, and when we can't anticipate, being prepared for all possibilities. The United States has been in existence for over 200 years. Think of all the things that have happened in that time, the immense technological and social changes that have taken place. The Founding Fathers deliberately left the Constitution a bit vague in some areas so that future generations would have the flexibility to adapt it to changing circumstances. And that's exactly what happened. And it's worked for more than 200 years. One of the biggest pitfalls for a charismatic leader comes straight from his or her ability to inspire love and devotion. And this is the last point I want to make. In order to bask in the warm glow of a leader's approval, people may become reluctant to voice disagreements. There are people who become isolated because subordinates are afraid of them. But the same isolation can occur as a result of misplaced affection. People of character are usually well loved by everyone around them, but they make it clear that their own first love is for the truth, even if it hurts. Character and charisma are topics that have been defined and debated for thousands of years. And I want to close this discussion with a comparison between two historical personalities. Alexander the Great was undoubtedly the most charismatic leader who ever lived. He lived only to the age of 33, but he personally led his armies into one victorious battle after another. First in Greece, then Persia, then Egypt, and finally India. It wasn't always easy, however. Alexander's willingness to put himself in danger, his gift for oratory, and his genius as a military tactician inspired fanatical loyalty from his troops. But even they grew weary after years of constant warfare. More than once, they threatened to mutiny and return to Greece. But until they reached the malaria-ridden jungles of India, Alexander was always able to rally them for one more battle. He believed that he was a god, and that his wars of conquest demonstrated his divine power to the rest of the world. When he died in the ancient city of Babylon, his body was transported across the desert to Egypt in a golden hearse drawn by scores of horses. Yet no one worships Alexander today. No one is impressed by all the cities he named after himself, or by the city he named after his horse, or by the palace he built and filled with huge pieces of furniture so that people would think he was a giant. In fact, Alexander's influence began to evaporate soon after his death. The remains of his empire were fought over by his generals, and new conquerors soon took his place. 300 years after Alexander, Jesus Christ began to preach. Instead of an army, he had 12 men. Others tried to say he was a god, but he never said so himself. He didn't own a horse. He never founded a city. And when he died, there was no golden hearse. Yet the force of his character has endured and grown, while the most charismatic leader who ever lived is of little interest to anyone except historians. Because character is what's left after charisma is gone. The leaders I spoke of earlier, Roosevelt, Kennedy, Reagan, used jokes and witticisms to demonstrate their humanity and to diffuse hostility, but they were by no means funny guys. Often their jokes and quips weren't even really funny. They were symbols of humor rather than real examples of it. And even this largely symbolic version of humor was applied very carefully. If it had been otherwise, these men would never have achieved a leadership role of any kind, let alone that of President of the United States. Most funny guys didn't start out that way. They're generally people who have been passed over several times and are using humor to help them cope with their disappointment. And there's also an element of anger in most funny guys, though it's usually deeply hidden, and they may not even be consciously aware of it. By continuing to be funny in situations where it's no longer appropriate, the funny guy may unconsciously be trying to subvert the goals of the group. Effective leaders recognize this, and they see to it that funny guys are denied any real responsibility.
This is just a general rule. If you want to lead, always be ready to lead, right? Be ready to step up. Make sure you're not stepping on people's toes, as always, but be ready to lead. And the way you do that is you think about what you do in certain situations. You should always be thinking about that. You should be thinking, even if you're a trooper or a follower in a certain situation, you should think, okay, well, how would I lead? What would I do right now?
So I went and read all the policies. Well, one of the policies was that if you didn't use the preferred pronouns of a given group, that you could be charged essentially with a hate crime. And I thought, No,
Which
that's
given
no.
group is that? You're talking about transgender people.
Yeah, and so there's all these pronouns that have come up. There's 70 different sets of pronouns approximately to hypothetically describe people who don't fit anywhere on the gender spectrum, which is also something that I don't really understand. I don't understand that conceptually.
One of the real reasons we don't do the things that frighten us is because we are afraid of being judged. We are afraid of failure. We are afraid of success. We are afraid of stumbling. What I'm suggesting to you is one of the reasons we don't really step into our heroic nature as human beings is because we're attached to the outcome. And so to become fearless, why not find some time every day to practice becoming fearless? Why not use whatever irritates you or frustrates you or frightens you during your day as bravery training? And so stop resisting. I encourage you, stop resisting the natural flow of epic performance. Stop resisting the natural seasons of life.
Things that affect most people that they don't even realize. I did not know that my relationships affected me. My mother said, Leslie, if you run around with 9 broke people, I guarantee you, you'll become number 10. Okay, so, well, come to find out, Mama was right. She only had a 3rd grade education, but studies indicate by MIT that you earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. So poverty and living a mediocre life is communicated mind to mind. And so your relationships can hold you down or they can lift you up. So I teach people to practice the principle of OQP, only quality people. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough said, if you're the smartest one in your group, you need to get a new group. And so it's very important that people upgrade their relationships.
Chẳng được quên khi cơn mưa đêm lại về. Em đã quên lời thề và ta như đông chìm sâu. Không còn mơ em anh nhận màu. Em chỉ cần mơ đâu mãi mãi. Chỉ còn là những cơn mưa vô giá. Cho bên mơ em không mơ anh. Anh vẫn đang mơ. Chỉ cần bên em không được còn nhớ. Và chỉ có em không còn nhớ. Và người ta bên nhau như ngã tớ. Muốn nhớ về say em chỉ có mấy em ở đây. Và anh như muốn chết đi nhưng không muốn em mơ mày. Tình yêu làm cho ta đau đầu. Không em như mà mơ mộng. Anh như nếu mong cầu. Và mưa bên em u sầu. Chào cả mà mai em mơ. Chỉ có bên em nhưng là khó mơ. Mà nào xa em muốn bên ai. Anh không mong gì hơn. Chỉ mong em sẽ ở đây ôm anh thật gần. Anh chỉ mong đôi ta được có nhau. Mà đừng em đâu anh có em. Muốn ở bên anh có em. Ta sẽ trao nhau môi hôn thật sâu. Ôm anh cứ mưa bằng gâu. Và em chỉ nằm đâu. Anh không muốn em ở đâu đâu. Một cơn gió thứ anh không mơ cầu. Mà gặp đôi anh mà bên nhà. Anh chỉ là my friend nhà. Em quên đi bằng lời hứa. Quên đi cần ngày xưa. Anh như là muốn nước. Em không còn một chưa. Mà đừng ở đêm ở đêm. Anh như một đôi bằng kem. Không như là ba trên thêm. Cho em nhiều hơn như là kem. Chỉ cần là mưa thôi. Em chỉ cần là mưa thôi. Còn ai sẽ là nắng rồi.
nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy. And silently, it could build and build until you finally see, whoa, it's taking over, damn no closure, moving closer. No exposure, I just wanna be a loner. Some can't stay sober, looking over all their shoulders, like moving boulders just to get out of the home. It sucks, I've had enough, I don't wanna feel the stuck under the rug, all my problems that I shove.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough, nothing's really clear, sometimes it could be a little tough. I just need to feel like the end's in sight for me, but let's be really real, anxiety can foggy all this stuff. I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough, nothing's really clear, sometimes it could be a little tough. I just need to feel like the end's in sight for me, but let's be really real, anxiety can foggy all this stuff. It sucks when you finally feel like giving up. Oh God, no luck, everything feels like you're sticky stuck. I'm lost, handcuffed to the bed where I sleep, don't give a fuck. Can't stop, unplug, feeling overwhelmed, I think I've had enough. Gotta find a way to get some energy, gotta find someone who's a good friend of me. I need purpose to make it all worth it, I'm still searching and I'm still learning. I want a life that's filled with memories, not a life with regret in front of me. I need focus to keep me from hopeless psychosis if I keep moping.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear